Valfaris was released on October of 2019 on the Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Steam. The game was developed by Steel Mantis and Stage Clear Studios. Steel Mantis is the dev team that brought you Slain Back from Hell on the PC back in 2016. Valfaris is a 2D retro-style action platformer, which is driven by a sci-fi and heavy metal theme. Valfaris is the name of a planet-sized citadel that orbits a dying sun. You play as Therion, who is a prince and son of the Emperor of Valfaris. The Emperor's name is Vrol, and has basically ran Valfaris into the ground. As Therion, you are returning to Valfaris to find your father and make him accountable for what he's done to Valfaris. You are accompanied by Hecate, which is a female artificial intelligence. Her purpose is to solely help push the story along, which is fine, but not what we're here for. What you're here for is the action and the gameplay, and Valfaris does not disappoint in either department. You'll play through 10 different stages, which all do a great job of feeling unique. I really love the diverse color palette that you would get from stage to stage. You could tell that they wanted to make each stage feel like its own world within the greater world. That platforming takes a backseat to the action, but I do believe that they did a good job, not great, with the level design, meaning that traversing through each stage was fun with different challenges, while never really feeling repetitive. The controls, while not the sharpest, never frustrated me, nor did I feel like they caused me a cheap death. Now the enemy and boss designs get an A+ in my book. They did a great job creating a fun and diverse set of enemies. Some enemies you'll only see on certain stages, while others you'll run into later on down the road. However, they do a great job of changing up the pace so that you never feel bored with even the most common of enemies. The bosses are fantastic, and I absolutely had a blast with each and every one. Most stages will have 2 bosses. Each presents its own challenge, and it was fun to learn how to take down each one. I don't believe that I beat any boss on a first encounter, but I didn't spend more than 10 to 20 minutes on any one boss. I did play Sekiro just before this, so my difficulty scale could be skewed at the moment. However, the boss fights alone make this game worth the purchase in my opinion. Therion will have 3 different weapon types. You'll have a standard weapon, a melee weapon, and your special weapon. When you start the game, you will have one of each weapon type, but as you progress throughout the game, you will acquire new weapons, which Therion will celebrate with his headbanging dance. Now your standard and melee weapons will have unlimited use, but your special weapon will be restricted by the blue bar under your health bar. This blue bar will be depleted by either using your special weapon or when using your shield to block enemy attacks. You can fill up the blue bar by collecting blue orbs, which are typically dropped by enemies when you kill them using your melee weapon. These 3 weapons and then your shield add a lot of combat options for a simple 2D action platformer. You can also use your shield to parry certain enemy melee or projectile attacks. Parrying a melee attack can at times stun your enemy, and parrying some projectile attacks can allow you to return the projectile back at that enemy. So as you progress through the game, you will collect more weapons, as I already mentioned, but you will also collect blood medals and resurrection idols. You can use both these at checkpoints, but there is a bit of strategy as to how you use them. You see, the game is relatively difficult, so they put the checkpoints somewhat close to each other. The catch is that you can't use the checkpoint unless you activate it with a resurrection idol. At these checkpoints, you can also use your blood medals to upgrade your current weapons or change your loadout. Now, aside from the checkpoints, you will also come across machines where you can exchange resurrection idols for blood medals, allowing you to upgrade your weapons faster. So the strategy comes in where you can bypass checkpoints if you choose to have more resurrection idols to exchange for blood medals when the opportunity presents itself. You can play it any way that you want, as you will usually come across at least one resurrection idol between checkpoints, but there are some secret or optional paths that you can take which reward you with additional blood medals or resurrection idols. I personally activated every checkpoint, as I found it hard to pass them up whenever I came across one. I also never really felt like my weapons were underpowered, but I'm kind of tempted to try another playthrough where I try to bypass them as a strategy. So you can play through the entire game in about 2.5 hours. However, that's if you don't die, and well, I died over 500 times, so I spent a little less than 10 hours with the game. I mentioned earlier that this game has a heavy metal theme, and the soundtrack for this game is fantastic. I mean, I don't even like metal, but it fits the game just perfectly and helps to enhance the experience extremely. Indie titles like this are obviously heavily inspired by the retro-style Contra games, and titles like this is why I don't really have a problem with Contra Road Corps going in its own separate direction, because we have indie games like this coming out all the time. Valfaris is full of fun and doesn't lack a good challenge. This is must play for fans of any old school Contra games or just fans of good action platformers. You can get the game digitally on all platforms for around $25, and you can pick it up physically on the Nintendo Switch and PS4. I picked up the Signature Edition for the Nintendo Switch, and that is the version that I played. The game played perfectly and suffered no performance issues or glitches. You can check out my unboxing if you're curious of the contents inside the Signature Edition, and I'll leave a link to their website just in case you're interested. Thanks for watching, guys.